And welcome back to yet another episode of Dogs on the Couch. Where everybody's allowed to have an opinion. It does not matter if you played the game you were watching. So you're allowed to have an opinion as well. Well, season is over for the Cleveland Browns, amongst several other teams as well. Cleveland Browns finish 3-14 on the year. That's right, 3-win season. And lo and behold, and secure the number 2 overall pick. The number 2 overall pick. So Tennessee Titans got number 1. Cleveland Browns will be picking at the 2 spot in this year's upcoming NFL draft. So where do we start? Let's start with the firings. It's not news at this point, since this happened fairly quickly, fairly abruptly once the season had come to an end. Cleveland Browns choose to fire the offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, as well as the offensive line coach. His name slips my mind at the moment. Gosh, I know his name, but it's slipping my mind at the moment. And this is all off the top. I don't have no notes necessarily right now. But yeah. They fired the offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, and they also fired the offensive line coach. A little bit more detail about the offensive line coach's situation. Apparently, there was a report that had come out where the offensive line coach hadn't been coaching the offensive line for quite some time. I believe maybe at least the last month of the season, the offensive line coach was not coaching the offensive line. The duties were being shared between Mike Vrabel, Kevin Stefanski, and somebody else. We're all working with the offensive line. So the guy that you brought in as the offensive line coach, and then if I'm not mistaken, because we love to say that Kevin Stefanski doesn't have control over anything. He can't pick any players. He can't pick his quarterback. He can't do anything except stand there. Like, he can't do nothing else. I personally believe that I think his coaching staff, I believe he's allowed to pick who's on his coaching staff, if I'm not mistaken. Even if he can't decide ultimately who gets fired, at the bare minimum, I believe he has the ability to pick who gets hired, who's going to be on his staff. I don't believe they're forcing guys on his staff that he doesn't want to be there. Even if, let's say a la in Ken Dorsey's situation, even if he didn't agree with the changing of the offense or evolving the offense to help fit Watson, even if he didn't agree with that, the point I'm making is you still chose, out of all of the offensive coordinators that you could pick to help build the offense around Deshaun, you the person who chose to pick Ken Dorsey. You picked him. Knowing everything that comes with him and the bad rap that he had, coming from Buffalo and everything like that, and saying that he was kind of sabotaging Josh Allen over there, he might not have been getting the best out of him. You decided to bring him over here and bring him on board. Kevin? Same thing with the offensive line coach. Same thing with the running backs coach. These were your decisions to bring these guys in. These were guys that you picked to put on your staff. And then lo and behold, after we've preached continuity, and you can't keep doing the same thing you've been doing since 99, and you bring a guy in for a year and you fire him, you can't keep doing that. Well, that's precisely what we did. Precisely. Because after we won 11 games, we fired 3 to 4 coaches, Alex Van Pelt, Stump Mitchell, Bill Callahan. I believe we know the names by now. We fire all of those guys after 11-win season. We fire all of them. I don't know. I don't get it. We fire all those guys. Let Stefanski have his pick to replace those guys. He had some mind-boggling picks, especially like the run game coordinator, the guy that came from college, from UConn. And I could see if he was coming from college where they got this great dynamic running game. UConn ain't even known for football, like just period. That's not a football school. I don't understand. UConn has never been known to be a football school. Now, is that to say that they don't have any, talented coaches over there or anything? I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm just saying they're not known for football there. That's all I'm saying. Just like Duke is not known for football. North Carolina is not known for football. Those are basketball schools. That's what they're known for. They're known for basketball, not football. Similar to the way we view Paul DePodesta, because nobody really knows what he does, but what we do know about him is that his track record is proven in baseball. But this is football. So we took a baseball guy and we want him to somehow be a chief strategist for football. Anyway, again, these are guys that Kevin Stefanski picked to put on his coaching staff. So after last year, 11-win season, we fire at least 3 coaches / coordinators, and then turn around the very next year and fire a coordinator and a coach. And on top of that, I mean, if we firing coaches for doing terrible jobs, even outside of, let's just take Stefanski and put him to the side, because we know I don't like him and I want him fired. Let's just take him and put him to the side. Let's just say, even, just living with the fact that, because I have to accept this fact, the same way that I wish people would accept the Deshaun Watson thing and stop freaking talking about it. Stop bringing him up. If you hate it so much and you hate him and he's worst trade ever, blah, 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 stop bringing his name up then. Stop talking about him. Stop saying his name. Because if I was him, I'd be having a mental conniption with you people. I'd be like, bruh, if you hate me so much and all this other stuff, stop saying my name then. Start focusing on how to fix everything that's wrong that you say I messed up. Stop dwelling on me. I haven't played football for you since week 7. So why am I still the topic of conversation, bruh? Y'all had a whole bunch of weeks to get it together and you couldn't, and you still blaming me. Like, not trying to be funny, but instead of Denver, instead of the Broncos, just constantly blaming, well, Russell Wilson was terrible, Russell Wilson. They just went and got another quarterback and then found ways to win. Now they not thinking about no Russell Wilson. They're not. They're not thinking about no Russell Wilson. They thinking about the playoffs. That's what they thinking about. They not thinking about no Russell Wilson. They moved on from him. They wasn't worried about let's check and see what Russell Wilson's doing. Anytime someone go run, see this because we spent all this money on Russell Wilson. That ain't what they did. They got a different quarterback, moved on. That's what they did. So I wish we could. Good Lord, I wish we could do that. But to get back to the point, let's put Stefanski to the side, and my feelings about him. Let's put that to the side. If we're firing coaches for doing horrible jobs, excluding Stefanski, when we fired Ken Dorsey, as well as the offensive line coach, Why didn't we fire Bubba Ventrone, the special teams coordinator? Why didn't he get fired? Why he didn't get fired? I mean, we undoubtedly had the absolute worst special teams in the entire NFL, beyond a shadow of a doubt. The absolute worst special teams. And if he's the coordinator, then he's the one that I'm putting the onus on for sending D'Onta Foreman out to return kicks. You put a short yardage running back out there to return kicks and punts. And then every week is every 2 weeks is somebody different returning kicks and punts. Every 2 weeks is you got somebody different back there. Jerome Ford, D'Onta Foreman, Prochet, at one point, one of the wide receivers we had back. We might have even tried Amari Cooper at returning kicks and punts at one point. We might have even tried him. I might have been back there 1 week returning kicks and punts. Lord knows I should have been. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, just absolutely abysmal. At one point, we were struggling just to field the kicks and punch. Just to when they kick it to you, just catch the ball. At one point, we couldn't even do that. I don't understand how on earth, not to mention, all of the big games that when we kicking the ball off and the other team is receiving, all of the big games and big plays that other teams would get, because our special teams is abysmal and it don't look like we know what we're doing, don't look like none of the people on special teams know what lane they're going to be running or who they're going to be tackling. How did Bubba Ventrone not get fired? I don't understand it. Like, to me, and this goes with the fan base as well. To me, it seems that with the Browns organization, especially since Stefanski has been the head coach, it seems like we're more worried about like people, like the person themselves, as opposed to the football player. So this is what I mean by that. When we acquire a football player, be it trade, draft, whatever the case may be, whenever there's a guy coming in, you were somewhere else, and then you're coming in now to the Browns umbrella. What it seems like to me is it's almost like a frat organization or something, where it's like, if I don't like you as a person, maybe you wear your hat to the back, and I don't like people who do that. It seems like that will take over, and then now you don't want the player, or you can't utilize the player the proper way because you don't like the fact that he wears his hat backwards. When, I'm sorry, but in my mind, I don't have to like you personally in order to work with you, or in order to, to like play on a team with you to win. We don't have to like each other. I use this example all the time. I've even used this in my day-to-day life, with jobs that I've worked at before, where it's like, I might not necessarily like this guy, but that don't mean I can't work with him. Like, we can work together. I don't have to like you in order to work with you, because the work that we doing don't have nothing to do with whether I like you or not. This is about accomplishing a job, accomplishing a goal, doing a job and accomplishing a goal. So while that's going on, that's all I'm worried about. While we trying to accomplish the goal, I'm not sitting there look at this backward hat wearing fool. I don't like him. And it seemed like that's what, like, the Browns organization as well as the fans, it seems like that's the mentality that they've adopted. Because a lot of the reason that they, for keeping Stefanski, they just like him. Well, I like him. Because there aren't really many football arguments as for him being a good coach. Like, there aren't many football arguments for that. And then when they do give the football arguments, they always have to say, they have to add on to the end, for the Browns. Well, he's the best coach for the Browns that the Browns have ever had. Oh, well, he's had, success more than the other Browns head coaches or stuff like that they say. When I've said numerous times, like, well, that's not hard to do. So that shouldn't be the bar that you're setting for your head coach to say, oh, we'll just be better than Hugh Jackson. Well, that's not a high bar. Like, I don't understand. It's not hard to be better than Hugh Jackson. It's not. Like, I don't understand. It's not hard to be better than that. So why is that the bar? Why is the bar being set so low? Oh, because we like Kevin Stefanski. We just like him. We like him. We like him. We think he's a smart guy. That being smart don't win your football games, man. And let me clarify that up a little bit more. Being Ivy League smart, that's not what's finna win you a football game, man. It's not. You can have all the Ivy League smarts that you would like to have. If you don't have the football 101 knowledge, you'll forever get in your own way. Dan Campbell doesn't strike me as an Ivy League smart guy. I'm not calling him dumb. I'm saying Ivy League smart. I don't think he went to Harvard or Princeton or Penn. I don't think he went to any of those places. I don't. However, the man knows football. Not only that, he knows how to tap into his players in order to achieve their maximum potential. That's something that Harvard cannot teach you. That's something that it's either in you or it's not. You're either a leader of men or you're not. Like there is no in between. And again, here I think we just fall so victim to, do we like the person? And then when we like the person, we make excuses for their shortcomings. Jameis Winston is another example. Him, being the preacher man and then having the game where he threw for 500 yards, 497, but 500 yards, and being the preacher man and giving sound bites and sound clips and great pregame speeches. Cleveland fell in love with that. They fell in love with it so much that no matter how many interceptions Jameis Winston threw so many interceptions that he got benched. And there are still Browns people that, well, I mean, if Jameis has to come in, and play some, some spot games here or there next year, I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. I like Jameis. What? Like, I don't understand that. The man went out there and threw interception after interception and was costing you games by throwing these interceptions, because the majority of his interceptions were taking place in the red zone. Multiple pick sixes, multiple interceptions in the red zone, where you have an opportunity to score points. Mind you, you don't have a running game. Your offensive line is terrible, and your kicker can't kick the ball into the ocean, let alone between the uprights. But because you like Jameis Winston, the preacher man / used car salesman who gives you sound bites that make you laugh, well, it's okay. Even though he was throwing all those interceptions, it's okay. We can bring him back. But by God, not that Deshaun Watson. That guy's so terrible, I don't even want him in the building because I don't like him. I don't like him as a person, Mr. Allegation Man. I don't like him. Like, it seems like that's what we do here. Like, we pick players or coaches or whatever, we stick beside them because we like them. That's what we do. Not because of their production or play on the field. That isn't it. It's because we like them as a person. That's why. Because we like them as a person. When, forgive me, man, if we gonna do that, then that means we shouldn't like Myles Garrett, because you do remember that he took his helmet off and hit a dude with it in the middle of the game. Now, to give a little more context, supposedly there was a slur that was thrown in Myles Garrett's way, and that's what made him do that. But at the end of the day, the footage has the man taking his helmet and then swinging his helmet and hitting another individual in the head, Mason Rudolph, with his helmet. At the time when that happened, other people who was watching it, they're like, oh, this is assault. This is assault and battery. This man should be in jail. But because Browns like Myles Garrett as a person, oh, we finna overlook that. Yeah, we're going to overlook that. We're going to pretend that it never happened. That's what we're going to do. We're going to pretend like that never happened. And how often do you hear that being brought up now when it comes to Myles Garrett? You don't hear that stuff being brought up. You don't hear it. There's another one, Kareem Hunt. Because you know how Kareem Hunt got here? He had got himself in some trouble with a young lady or something like that. Lady lied about her age or something like that, I think, and ended up being in a space that she shouldn't have been. And then Kareem Hunt and I guess his crew is like trying to get the young lady out of the space when they find out that you shouldn't be here. And then, the altercation, turned physical. And then Kareem Hunt did some things that, were deemed you shouldn't be doing that physically towards another young lady. That's how he ended up even coming here, because Dorsey was like, all right, he got some baggage. He did something that he wasn't supposed to do. But, man, he's a hell of a football player. You know what? We're going to bring him in and we're going to give him a shot, just as long as he don't do no other garbage like this again. Just as long as you don't do nothing like that again, we finna bring the guy in and give him a shot. Because, again, if we just doing this, oh, I need to like you as a person, that's two people. We shouldn't have had them here. What do we like you as a person for? Look at what you did. Look at what you did. And then these are allegations. This stuff there was video footage of this stuff. And we were able to see it. Yeah. So if we just going based off of, morals, does this person have good morals and are they making good decisions in life and what are they doing outside of football? Well, we shouldn't have liked either one of them. We should want Myles Garrett to get up out of here. You assaulter, you batterer. You should be in jail for hitting that man over the head with a helmet. You could have killed him. Man, and I hate to even be bringing that garbage back up. But I'm just saying, if we trying to judge people in their personal lives and all this other stuff, instead of just keeping it to on the field, which they can't seem to do, especially when it comes to Deshaun Watson or, other players that they just didn't like, Odell Beckham. We do this to players that we just deem them, we don't like you. Well, I don't like you. So we finna come up with any and everything for everything to be your fault because we don't like you. But then when we like somebody, no matter how much wrong they do, we just gonna come up with an excuse for it. Because I'm waiting on the football reasons as to why Kevin Stefanski should still be the head coach and is the best option at head coach for the Cleveland Browns. You have a losing record. You have a very poor culture that you've built here. It's very soft. We don't do nobody plays in preseason. Nobody's there for into the training camps or doing none of the, there's no need to get continuity or to be working on anything. Like we just run this real soft organization, it seems like. This real soft stuff. Penalties galore. Leading the league in giveaways, leading the league in interceptions the past 2 years. Like, I'm not understanding. Pushing talent out of the door because the talented player and the head coach can't seem to get on the same page, and that happens with almost all of the talented players that we have that come through here on offense. Like almost all of them. Like even David Njoku at one point was like he wanted out. He didn't want to be here. He wanted out. He didn't want to be here no more. Even him. That's not to go with all the other guys that ended up leaving and being successful after they left. Like, point to me another franchise and head coach that has had that many people, that many players leave their organization from under their watch and go elsewhere and be successful. Name me the team and the head coach. Name me the team and the head coach that have let Amari Cooper go away and he's been successful when he leaves. Odell Beckham go away, he's successful when he leaves. Za'Darius Smith, who I was just watching the other day in the game, I believe that was the Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. I'm watching him make sacks on Sam Darnold. Za'Darius Smith, I'm watching him go be successful over there. Kareem Hunt, successful over there in Kansas City. Like the list goes on, honestly. What other team can I point to where I'm like, well, man, look at all these guys that came through under this coach's watch and then go somewhere else and be successful. They wasn't able to figure it out over there in Cleveland with him, but as soon as he leaves, he goes somewhere else, he's successful. They're able to utilize that player and his talent somehow. And then also whatever like dislike that the head coach had for that player here, when he goes to the other spot, that head coach doesn't have that same dislike for the player. Like, there's a common denominator thing that goes on. Like, if a player keep going to places and then everywhere that player go, it gets mucked up, a la Terrell Owens. That's when you could point at the player and be like, you the problem. Because everywhere you go, they say the same thing about you. So you the problem. But if it's never the players, every time the players that leave from here go somewhere else, you'll never hear the people over there be like, we gotta let this guy go. He's just terrible. He's a distraction. He's got an attitude problem. He's running rogue routes. We don't know what he's doing. We don't like this guy. We got to get him out of here. That's not the case. Not at all. The players go to these other places and they're successful there. They play winning football over there. Wherever it is that they go. They go there and they start playing winning football. And they're successful. So for me, again, to bring it off full circle, we fired a coach. It was just the wrong one. But what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to do what I suggested, that other individuals do early in this video in regards to Deshaun Watson. What I'm going to do is I'm going to accept the fact that Kevin Stefanski is the head coach going into the 2025-26 football season. Kevin Stefanski is going to be the head coach for that, at least to start the year out. I'll accept that. Don't like it. Not on board with it. I'm not gonna jump on I'm not on the bandwagon. I'll watch the games, but I'm not cheering for you. I'm not gonna cheer for him to win. I refuse to cheer for him to win until they fire Stefanski. It's because I'm gonna play y'all game. I don't like him, so I'm not gonna cheer for him. Let's do that. Let's just play the game you like. But I don't like him. Even though I have multiple real football reasons, I'm going to just say, because I don't like him, I ain't cheering for him. But I'll accept the fact he's the coach going forward. I'll accept that. But here's what I would like. Being as though he's the head coach, let's eliminate all the excuses. Let's do everything that we possibly can to eliminate any excuse that he might have to not be successful. Let's eliminate all those excuses. And how do we do that? My personal opinion, give him everything he needs. Instead of Andrew Berry being the one who's responsible, anytime we draft a player, we got to put it all on Andrew Berry. Well, we don't know if Stefanski wanted that guy. He's not picking the player. Andrew Berry should go to Kevin Stefanski and say, hey, look, with this number 2 pick, who do you want to get? Are you high on one of these quarterbacks? Do you like one of these quarterbacks? Do you want one of these quarterbacks? And if you don't, tell me who you do want us to get with this number 2 pick. You the head coach. I want you to have the players that you feel like you need to be successful. So that way we can eliminate this idea of, well, you don't want these guys. That's not the guy you picked. That's not the quarterback you wanted. So in my mind, a real coach, it doesn't have to be a specific style of quarterback. In Baltimore, Jim Harbaugh went from, is that Jim? No, that's John over there, I believe. No, that's John. That's John Harbaugh over there in Baltimore. He went from Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson, two polar opposites at quarterback. And they didn't skip a beat. It wasn't this thing where they were like, nah, I need another Joe Flacco style quarterback in order to be successful. No, they was like, oh, this kid got talent. Yeah, let's work an offensive system around this guy and his talent. Because we can see that he got the talent. We need to be able to put him in the best possible position to succeed and utilize his talent. So for me, give Kevin Stefanski everything he asks for. Give him everything he needs. Anything he asks for, give it to him. He need to be the one making the picks, not Andrew Berry, not Haslam, not anybody else, not Paul DePodesta. Let Kevin Stefanski do everything. Let him pick his players. Let him pick his players. Let him pick his coaches. Let him run his offense. Let him call the plays. Let him do everything. So that way, there is no more smoke and mirrors, which is what I said I felt like it was when he handed over the play, randomly, inexplicably, handed the play calling over to Ken Dorsey the same week that Jameis Winston became the starter. And in the ESPN article, they wrote about how Jameis Winston went when he finally heard, because first of all, Stefanski didn't tell nobody that they were switching play callers. Again, you're not a leader of men. Bruh, if you're switching play callers, you should, whenever y'all having team meetings or y'all in the film room, you should let your team know that in a team setting. Hey, y'all, this upcoming week, I'm not going to be calling the plays. That's going to be Ken Dorsey. So if you got any questions, concerns, comments, anything like that about the offense, make sure you see Coach Dorsey, because he's going to be the one handling that. One of the players said he found out on ESPN. Well, I ain't going to say necessarily on ESPN, but he found out when the fans found out. He found out the same way the fans found out. That is diabolical work, in the words of the youngins nowadays. That is diabolical. How your player don't know who the play caller is, and they don't find out until the rest of the world find out. That is ridiculous. That is crazy. And then Jameis Winston comes to Stefanski like, well, what's up, man? I mean, the reason that I came here was, for you. Because I wanted to, the under center, play action. That's my bread and butter. Like, that's why I came here, is to run that under your watch, under your play calling. And Stefanski basically brushed him off like, nah, bro, you good. Trust the process. I trust our coaches. So just trust the coach. You good. Go ahead. Go to Dorsey. What? That's what? That's crazy to me. But then yet somehow we, when the season was over with, it was all said and done, we just pointed the finger at Ken Dorsey. That's his fault. What? So to eliminate all of the garbage and all of the excuses and all this smoke and mirrors, give Kevin Stefanski what he wants. And then if you do something where you ask him, well, what would you like, Kevin? And he's like, I don't know, whatever you guys think. Don't accept that as an answer. Be like, no, Kevin, Mr. Indecisive, Mr. Smug, dance around, don't ever really answer or say anything. Kevin, who do you want at number 2? Who do you want us to pick? Who? Do you want a quarterback or not? And if you want a quarterback, which one? Because no matter what my assessment of the quarterback is, I need you to be able to feel like this is your guy, that you can work with this guy, because I don't need that to be the excuse coming in the next year. Because in my opinion, coming into this next year, if you look, I'm talking about the first 3 games. I'm not even giving it 6. The first 3 games, if you come out and you look anything like you did this year, I'm pretty sure you're going to be fired. I'd fire you because I would have been and fired you already. And then on top of that, that creates more, that just creates more chaos. Because if you go into, regardless of who you pick, who you draft, let's just say you do draft a quarterback, and then you go into the next year, and Kevin Stefanski is stinking it up, and then he ends up getting fired. Well, now you putting that quarterback that you just drafted in an inopportune situation. You messing him over at that point. And I would think that we'd be tired of doing that to quarterbacks by now. We did it to Deshaun Kaiser, and then we did it to Baker Mayfield. And then when we did it to Baker Mayfield, we watched Baker go somewhere else and be successful. That man in the playoffs. Wow, we done won 3 games. That man in the playoffs. And got there through turmoil, within his way through the turmoil and all that old type of stuff, and ended up getting his team to the playoffs. Despite whatever interceptions Baker threw this year. He was top 3, I believe, in the league in touchdown passes as well. So somehow, Baker was able to figure that thing out, baby, once he got away from over here. Somehow Baker was able to figure that thing out, and he was able to find some level of consistency that has produced, playoff appearances for this guy. So, again, I believe we're setting ourselves up for, potential disaster, because if this next season, if it turns into, looks anything similar to this year, I believe at that point you're looking at a complete blow it up. Yep. At that point, I believe you got to blow it up. You got to blow everything up. Blow it all up. Yep. Take a demolition ball to just blow everything up. Knock it all down. Blow everything up. Because how can you not at that point? How can you not? Because even if I was one of the players who was quote unquote on board, if I see this garbage and then we look the same next year, I'm not on board anymore. I'm not on board. You could have had a chance to keep me on board for a longer period if we brought in a new coach with a new philosophy or a way that he's describing where we could be successful with what we have. Not like, we got to fill all of these holes first in order for us to be successful. Just like they say the job of an elite or a great quarterback is to cover up, the holes or whatever that you may have on offense. I believe that's a part of the head coach's job as well. That's what Mike Tomlin has done so well with the Pittsburgh Steelers. When they had me at quarterback, when they had Kenny Pickett and me at quarterback, they still managed to have a winning season. So the head coach was making decisions to help cover up for the fact that he didn't have an offense and he didn't have a quarterback. They was still finding ways to win games. To me, that's what the great / elite head coaches do. And that's, in my mind, why Kevin Stefanski is not one of those guys. And if you want to be able to compete, especially in the AFC North, you're going to need one of those guys. We put a whole lot on the quarterback. We're going to need a quarterback to compete, in the AFC. And then, in the AFC North, you're going to need a quarterback. You're going to need a quarterback. You're going to need a quarterback to go head-to-head with Patrick Mahomes and with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. You do realize that all those guys got fantastic head coaches as well. Andy Reid, Harbaugh, and Mike Tomlin. Like, I don't understand. It's not just the quarterback over there. They have an extremely great head coach to go along with the quarterback. Like, I don't understand. I mean, what do you mean? I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, you're going to need the coach too. So to eliminate all of the excuses of why Stefanski will have another losing season and not get the job done, get that man everything that he needs. Give him any and everything that he needs and that he could think that he wants. So that way, if he pick his quarterback and you go out there and your quarterback throwing these interceptions, the only person that we got to blame is you and your. Well, I ain't even gonna blame the quarterback for real. I'm gonna just blame you. Yeah, I'm gonna just blame you because shoot, I in that sense, that would mean literally every quarterback that you've had, they throw interceptions at a high clip, and I mean that's the truth. All of the quarterbacks. For people to talk about all this success that Stefanski has had with the quarterback carousel, no, he really hasn't. He was protected by a great defense. He was protected by a great defense, man. Because all of the quarterbacks that we've had, they've all been high on throwing interceptions. All the ones we done brought through here. All of them. They all throw picks. All of them. So in my opinion, it's something about your offense or your scheme, whatever your system is. It seems like a part of your system generates interceptions. Like that's what it seems like. Because it seems like your system, everything is predicated on timing. And it is split timing. Like if you off by a split second, interception. Turnover. When me, I don't think that's a safe offense to be trying to live and die by, where everything is based on a split second. If you're a split second too soon or a split second too slow, the whole play is blown up. The whole play is shot. The whole play is no good anymore. Like, I don't think that's a system to be running, man. To be dependent on to win games in the NFL week in and week out. So, by all means, man, give Kevin Stefanski any and everything that he could possibly imagine. So that way we can finally say for certain, without a doubt, these are the guys that Stefanski wanted. This is the quarterback he wanted. So when he out there stanking it up and throwing interceptions, we can look like, hey, Stefan, what's going on, buddy? What's up, Mr. Two-time head coach of the year? Mr. We giving you an extension. Mr. We giving you another year. Mr. We know it's not your fault. Mr. It's all Deshaun Watson's fault. This ain't Deshaun. Deshaun on the pup list. This is Kirk Cousins. Remember y'all had the relationship back in the day over in Minnesota? Y'all was doing this. What's up? Why are y'all not doing that now? Give Stefanski everything he may possibly need. And then in closing, what I'll say, because you always get the pushback of, what do you do? What in your mind, in your opinion, what would you do? Because first of all, I wouldn't have Stefanski as the head coach. That's starters. Number two, I'm not so upset at Deshaun Watson anymore because much as you hate him and $230 million guaranteed, man, terrible quarterback, man, garbage, man, hate him, man, it's not a good person, blah, 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 and all that. You know what Deshaun Watson did do for you? You know what he did do for you? If you blaming everything on him, you putting everything on him, you know what Deshaun did do for you? Well, you talk about all them draft picks that you had to give away to get him. You know what he did? That man got you the number 2 overall pick. Since everything his fault, if everything his fault, then let's give him credit for getting you the number 2 overall pick in the draft when you didn't even think you was going to have no first round draft picks. Not only do you got the first round, he got you the number 2 overall pick. So, me personally, what I would do, First of all, I would have fired Stefanski, but even with him still being here, even with him still being here, what I would do, what my thought process would be with that number 2 overall pick, I'd be looking at Travis Hunter. That would be my first go-to. I would pick Travis Hunter. It sucks because I don't feel like Stefanski would utilize him on offense properly, but I do feel like Jim Schwartz would be able to utilize him on defense in the correct fashion. I do believe that. And I believe that would give Denzel as well as Myles Garrett a tad bit of, security on the defensive side of the ball. You'd have another playmaker on defense. Okay. And not only that, but with the number 2 overall pick, I believe that pick would kind of eliminate getting it wrong at the quarterback spot. So you wouldn't be on the hook for, well, you picked Cam Ward, but Shedeur Sanders ends up being the guy. Like if one of those guys aren't taken by Tennessee, you know what I mean? Like it was like, oh, well, maybe you end up, avoiding picking the wrong quarterback. However, if let's just say for some odd reason, Travis Hunter goes first overall to Tennessee. In that case, I still wouldn't go quarterback at number 2. In that case, I would shift to Abdul Carter, and I would draft him with the number 2 overall pick. So Travis Hunter first would be my first pick at number 2. And if for whatever reason he's not there, I would go Abdul Carter at number 2. Those would be my primary selections, that I would have on my board for the number 2 pick in the draft. Then after that, I'll be trying to make it my business to check out. I was high on Ashton Jeanty. I hate to sway my opinion off of one game, because I don't. To me, one game don't necessarily be enough. It's hard for me to gather enough information, process enough information just from one game to make a big decision. However, I'm gonna kind of go against the grain of myself, a little bit on that one. The college playoff game that I saw Ashton Jeanty in, and I'm not necessarily blaming it on him, but it seems like the defense was kind of geared towards stopping him and forcing Boise State to beat them in a different fashion. And it was a subpar performance. He didn't look like Ashton Jeanty. That's all I'll say. See, he didn't look like Ashton Jeanty. Not to say that he won't be dynamic in the NFL. Not, I'm not saying anything like that. But there was a guy that I had a chance to check out. I wasn't as familiar because, of course, he wasn't hyped as much as Ashton Jeanty was. But Cam Skattebo, the running back for Arizona State, guy was all world. I mean, he was the offense for Arizona State in that college football playoff game. Guy was, I'm talking about, that guy's hard to tackle. That guy's hard to get on the ground. And he also seemed to have a decent set of hands for a running back as well, as far as catching the ball, out of the backfield, different things of that nature. So he's not a one-dimensional back. And again, that guy, it seems like that guy is built like he has a grown man body. And that guy is hard as heck to get to the ground. And me just thinking, poor offensive line like we have, I'm not assuming that these holes are going to be wide open for the running back to run through. So you're probably going to be getting some contact, either immediately or in the backfield. I'd prefer to have a guy who's hard to bring down. And I think that Cam Scatterboo is harder to bring down, harder to tackle than Ashton Jeanty. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to change my opinion previously on the Ashton Jeanty to I would be looking at Cam Scatterboo after either the Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter after that pick. Next, I would be looking at Cam Scatterboo. I'd be looking at trying to get him. That's where I would be at. Because in my mind, those two are like must haves. Like must haves as far as trying to get this thing turned around fairly quickly. And then after you address those situations, that's when I'd go into like, offensive line, trying to get maybe, I guess, either bigger or younger. You know what I mean? Well, through the draft, you could possibly get bigger guys and younger guys combined to get, at the same time. You get a bigger guy and he's younger, as well. But definitely, with the number 2 pick, Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, and then whatever pick we'd have after that, I'd be looking at trying to get Cam Scatterboo. I'd be looking at trying to get that running back from Arizona State. Yeah, that guy was, man, he was unbelievable in that game, in the game that I saw him in. And mind you, he had the spotlight on him the same way that Ashton Jeanty did coming into the game. The other team knows, oh, this is their guy. We got to stop him. And they could not stop that young man. That young man was all world. Okay. So that would be the direction that I personally would move in, as far as drafting and going forward, with the Browns organization and trying to get back to some type of winning playing winning football, man. So we'll end up seeing how things turn out. We'll as more information comes out and things start to develop and everything like that, we'll see what the next topic is. And we'll being as though football season is kind of transitioning. We got the playoffs for the next couple weeks, and then football will be over. Start diving into some basketball as well. Huge basketball guy as well. So we'll definitely be having some basketball takes coming up pretty soon as well. Yeah, we'll see how things turn out going forward. Dogs on the couch signing off.